All right, it's Lambo's World of Sports featuring the Big Brother. We're going to recap the rest of the week two games. Like I said, we're doing this early. We're doing this bright. We got 45 minutes away from the Vikings and Eagles game, which would be a very, very good one tonight. By the way, for Vikings and Eagles on my parlay, my 13-pick parlay, I picked the Vikings for the upset, but betting-wise, I don't really do that because it's kind of risky. I put over 49, so I hope the game is at least like 24, 27, because I think both offices would score more points. But the first game I want to recap, week 1 o'clock game, the Raiders versus the Bills. All right, there's a lot of Josh Allen's slander and whatnot. It's a lot of slander. Who will come out on top? Okay, Josh Allen or Jimmy G? Not just that, but will the Raiders still be somewhat consistent? By the way, you were right. You said the Raiders were going to beat the Broncos. I thought it was kind of an upset in my opinion because both teams were bad last year. But how would the Raiders win on the road against a tough Bills team at home?
I don't think so. I think the Bills are going to win. Now, the line is Bills -8. I don't know if they're winning by 8 points. Josh has led the league in turnovers for the past two, like cumulatively over the past 2 years, like altogether. So he's got to get that under control. It doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion, and that might just be because I'm a Dallas guy and everyone was ragging on Dak for last year. But in general, and altogether for the past 2 years, Josh Allen has led the league in turnovers. But in this game specifically, I don't think he goes back-to-back games with, 3-4 turnovers. I think he's going to pull it together this week. I don't know if they cover an 8-point spread, but I do think that the Bills come out on top here. The matchups just go in the Bills' favor. I think if you go position to position, the Bills have a better team. But that's not to sleep on the defense of the Raiders. Defense of the Raiders is obviously loaded with solid players. Chandler Jones, Max Crosby, and my guy Divine Diablo at the linebacker position from Virginia Tech. He had a great game last week, and I don't think that's going to slow down. Obviously, the Bills don't run the ball very often and not very effectively, and that's not a this year exclusive thing either. That was a last year case as well. But I do have the Bills coming out on top here. The line, like I said, is -8 for the Bills. The over-under is 47. I'm thinking it's going to be right around that point total. I've got the Bills winning this game by 4 points.
I'm going to pick Buffalo too. I don't think Buffalo going to start off 0-2.
Yeah.
The run game could be better. They need to give Gabe Davis more targets. He's a guy from UCF, a great receiver. Stephon Diggs going to get his targets regardless. He's going to get his targets regardless. Dawson Knox needs to be involved more. Their other tight end you've been ranting about needs to get more. So they play turnover-free football. The Bills will win. But as part of my parlay, I feel like this is one of the games where the Raiders might upset the Bills. Might. I mean, we've seen upsets last week with the Browns beating the Bengals and all this other stuff. So this could go either way, but I'm comfortable with the Bills at home. Sean McDermott is calling the defense after Leslie Frazier took a year off this year. So the defense didn't do bad. The turnovers on the offense was ridiculous. I don't think Josh Allen will have 4 turnovers this game. He might have 1 because, he's loose with the ball.
He always gives him one.
Yes, he's loose with the ball. But the Raiders, you have Devontae Adams. So you need to get him some targets. You have Devontae Adams. Josh Jacobs needs more carries. He was the leading rusher last year. He didn't get enough yards or whatnot, but if they used the run game more, it'd be fine. But I think it's hard to run the ball in Buffalo, despite Buffalo giving up 127 yards rushing to Breece Hall, who tore his ACL last year in the last game. But I think the Bills' defense will make some adjustments. The Bills will come out on top. I don't see why not. But if it's turnovers, then the Raiders are going to somehow still have a chance to win. And by the way, like you said, Jimmy G would do just enough to win. He's a game manager. He's not the same quarterback as he was early with the 49ers and with the Patriots after that Tom Brady 4-game suspension in 2016, where, he learned from Tom Brady. We thought he was going to be that successor, but we got rid of him because Brady played 3 more years. But Jimmy G going to do just enough to win the game. But if Jimmy G turns the ball over as well or fumbles or takes sacks he's not supposed to take, the Bills on top. I'll take the Bills 30-17. It's tough. It's going to be the environment in Buffalo, the fans, it's loud. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. The Raiders will have to start off hot, or they might have to just get the ball first. You don't want to defer. But Josh McDaniels is a former Bill Belichick. You might want to he defers, but if you're aggressive, you might want to take the ball first. Buffalo has a 71% chance of winning. Raiders only have 28. The next game we're going to is the Ravens versus the Bengals. Jamar Chase called the Browns some L's, and he took a bad L. The Ravens, Mark Andrews is not playing again. J.K. Dobbins is out for the year. They were talking about he want more money in the contract extension. Look what happened to him, which is unfortunate. Lamar Jackson, new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, they want to throw the ball more, but they need to be involved in the run game as well. They did okay against the Texans, but they struggled a little bit. I'm going to take the Ravens on this one because they're at home. I think they'll be explosive. I'm not betting nothing on the Bengals. I'm not shitting on the Bengals or anything, but the Bengals started off 0-2 last year as well, I think. They lost to the Steelers. They lost to the Cowboys. The Bengals will play better, I expect, from Joe Burrow. They'll play better. Ravens going to come out on top. I think it'll be 27-24. I understand that the Bengals beat the Ravens 3 straight times last year, but that was with injuries. So the Ravens have something in their bag as far as we're not losing to the Bengals again. Who do you got in this one? Do you trust Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow?
Well, I trust both of them. They're both, top caliber guys in the league at the quarterback position. I have the Bengals winning this one, actually, 24-21. I also think it's going to be super close. It could come down to a field goal in the fourth quarter. The reason I'm leaning towards the Bengals is because Marlon Humphrey's still questionable. I don't know if he's going to play, and it might already have been said that he's not. But when you're a little bit weaker in the secondary, especially compared to where they were last year, there's just too many weapons in the receiver room for the Bengals for me to be comfortable picking the Ravens in this game, especially considering how much the Ravens did struggle against the Texans. Now, I've said it a few times, the Texans' pass defense, especially last year and at the start of this year, wasn't the issue. They had one of the best pass defenses in the league. It was not super surprising to see them struggle, but the Bengals have made the AFC Championship twice with Joe for a reason. They've got a great roster up and down. The D-line and the linebacker core over in Cincinnati is nothing to laugh at either. So they're going to have to stick to running the ball more, I think, than they might want to, especially with the new OC leaning more towards the pass side. And I think it's why they won the game last week is because they went back to running the ball. It's very unfortunate JK's out. I would have thought that they would have signed another guy in the backfield like a Kareem Hunt by now, but they didn't. And so they're going to have to go with that, with the depth that they have in the backfield with Gus Edwards. And I'm forgetting the other guy's name right now. But, it's hard to pick against Lamar. I love him as a quarterback. I'm glad he got his money. I'm glad Joe got his money, highest paid quarterback, highest paid player of all time. And I can't see Joe Burrow laying 2 eggs in a row. He played awful last week, and that's just not who he is as a quarterback. But I do see this game as super competitive. I got the Bengals 24-21.
All right, next game, the Chargers versus the Titans. I understand the Chargers have lost a very close battle with the Dolphins. Like you said in the last episode, their defense was bad. I've said that Brandon Staley is a defensive coach. Will he help out Justin Herbert? You got Kellen Moore. but we hadn't seen Kellen Moore enough to criticize him as far as his play calling. The defense is really bad for the Chargers. The Titans, Ryan Tannehill last week threw 3 interceptions. Justin Herbert's obviously better than Ryan Tannehill, but that's not the question. Can the Chargers defense stop Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry needs more carries. You still have to use the Titans forgot they signed DeAndre Hopkins, and they only scored 15 points against the Saints. The Saints, and I guess we both picked the Saints, and they somehow barely won. Derek Carr made a great play to throw the ball deep to close out the game last week. I'm going to take the Titans as far as running the football, and Ryan Tannehill as a game manager is going to do just enough to not turn the ball over. Now, Ryan Tannehill can't have 3 turnovers against the Chargers. All right, Tennessee is at home, but I think I have trust in Mike Vrabel, who played for Belichick, a Belichick disciple. He coached under Bill O'Brien back then with the Houston Texans and linebackers coach. That's how he got the head coaching job. I trust the Titans defense. I don't really trust Tannehill. Tannehill needs to throw the ball more to DeAndre Hopkins. He cannot throw 3 interceptions. The Chargers defense is not good. I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans in a low-scoring game. It was low-scoring last week. I'll take them in a low-scoring game. It would be 21-20. The Chargers are going to mess up on special teams.
All right, so I'm going Chargers in this one. It's just the pass defense of the Titans isn't good. Obviously, the run defense is great, but Eckler he's never gone over 1,000 yards rushing, and he's still one of the top running backs in the league for a reason. Is because he can extend the game outside of just running the ball. It's not really a question if he's one of the most explosive players in the league or not. And they've still got a super deep wide receiver room as well. So I don't know if the Chargers are really capable of having a low-scoring game. Now, Derrick Henry is going to get his. He always does. Even last week when it wasn't the best statistically for him, he still looked like a beast out there. So I'm not sleeping on him at all. I don't trust Tannehill. And as bad as the Chargers defense looked last week, it was more of a scheme thing to me. Like I said in the last episode, they just did not play that situation right at all. They were in press coverage with one safety back against Tyreek Hill, and you just can't do that. The difference is, as good as DeAndre Hopkins is, and there's no shade to him, he's not Tyreek Hill when it comes to being able to open up the defense over the top. So I don't really see it as a low-scoring game, in my opinion, from the Chargers' point of view, and I don't really have it being super close. I've got the Chargers winning this game by 10 to 7 points. Obviously, no disrespect to Derrick Henry. I just don't trust Tannehill at all.
Well, that would be a one to watch. I think it'd be very, very close, but that's going to be the one to watch. Next game, we're going to talk about the Packers versus the Falcons. The Falcons are at home again. You were right about the Falcons beating the Panthers. I'm not sure what type of team the Falcons have. Third-round pick in Desmond Ridder. Cincinnati was in the college football playoff 2 years ago. They had Luke Fickell as the former head coach. Now Cincinnati kind of just, I don't know if they went rock bottom, but they weren't that good. The whole Marcus Mariota situation last year, Arthur Smith's job is on the line. By the way, if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, you should be a little bit confident because Jordan Love did some great things, by the way. We thought he was going to struggle. Jordan Love did awesome. The Packers have his back, especially the defense. The Packers defense really impressed people. I understand the Bears aren't good, but you said it a couple weeks back, the Packers defense's expectations supposed to be good, but then they end up sucking last year. I understand it's one game, but I'm going to take the Packers in this one. I trust Jordan Love. I haven't seen enough of Desmond Ridder. The Packers also have a better defense than the Falcons do. I'm not sure. I'm going to put my money on Green Bay. Green Bay is going to win this one 35-21. 14-point game.
Sheesh. Yeah, I'm with the Packers as well, but I think it's more of a 21-17 game. Both defenses are good. The Falcons have a good defense, and the Packers in the past few years have had good defenses on paper. And like you just referred to, I've said it a few times, the Packers defense always, or I don't want to say always, but for the past few years have played under expectations. It looks like they're turning that around. Now it's hard to assess that going against a team that had the number 1 pick last year until they traded it away. Jordan Love, as much credit as I'm giving him for playing well last week, into the third quarter, he was throwing 10 for 20. Like he was 50%. He got a lot of those completions at the end in garbage time after they had already won the game. But I don't know if the Falcons can stop the run game. Aaron Jones looked good. A.J. Dillon looked okay, but I'm not going to put my money on him having 2 bad weeks in a row. Romeo Doubs looks like he took a step in the right direction. Like he was touted. He was a highly touted player coming in, kind of underperformed. I think he's taken that next step. And I do trust Jordan Love in this game to get it done. Desmond Ridder, I mean, he threw 15 for 18. So like when you're looking at percentage wise, you're like, oh my gosh, like he played phenomenal. He had like 115 yards. He's just throwing little dump offs. He's throwing screens. Obviously the one to Bijan that he broke like 4 tackles to get to the end zone was very impressive. And Tyler Algier looks great in the backfield as well. I think that's a great 2-headed monster they have back there. But I don't know if the little, just dumping it off to your guys in the flat or your guys coming underneath that the Falcons did all last week is going to do anything against a Packers team that seems to actually be playing up to the expectations that they should be playing at. Drake London had 1 target the entire game in the Falcons game. I don't know if that's going to continue, but if the game plan for Desmond Ridder is just to throw, like balls that go 4 yards in the air, London's not going to get a lot of targets. That's just not, that's not who he is as a receiver. Kyle Pitts has just been underwhelming. And I don't think it's his fault. I just think it's because he's in Atlanta. And I don't really see that changing this week going against a Packers defense that looks very solid.
All right, next game to watch for. This game was played, I think, on week 16 or week 17 of last year. The Seahawks versus the Lions. The Lions do have some personal vendetta against the Seahawks. Remember when the Lions started off 1-7, they went 9-8. This is one of those games where if they would have beat the Seahawks last year, they couldn't make playoffs. But that was one of those games. I think it was week 17. May have been week 16. And then they upset the Packers. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lions are coming. Yes, the Lions are coming. They're going to fight. The Seahawks looked bad last week against a Rams defense. All right, Rams defense, Aaron Donald. By the way, Seattle only had 1 first down in the second half against the Rams. Okay, Geno Smith versus Jared Goff. Obviously, Jared Goff is the better quarterback in the situation. I guess we thought Jared Goff was done after the Rams thing, but he's led Detroit in some good things right here. They're going to run the ball better. Like I said, they got the running back out of Alabama, Jahmyr Gibbs. They're going to run the ball better. They're going to clean up their mistakes. I'm taking the Lions in this one, okay? Lions win this one 24-10. I trust their defense. I understand Seattle has DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith-Jigba and Tyler Lockett and all that other stuff, but the Lions are a different team this year. So I think it comes down to the Lions defense stepping up and taking over the game, and the Lions with control possession, time possession of using the clock, running the ball, throwing it when they need to throw it with Ben Johnson as the OC. Lions win this one. They go shut them down to 10 points at home.
Yeah, I've got the Lions winning as well. The issue that I had with the score, the reason I made that face was because the Lions have 2 cornerbacks that are questionable, like starters. I don't know if they're going to be out per se, but they are questionable as of right now. And if they're not up to the, top of their game, I don't know if they're going to be able to contain DK, JSN, and Tyler Lockett. On the flip side, and the reason that I'm going with the Lions is because the Seahawks have both tackles hurt. One of them is out, one of them is questionable. And if you have a tackle hurt, you're on your second string with Aiden Hutchinson coming off the edge, it's going to be a long day for Geno in that backfield. So I've got the Lions winning this game as well. I don't think it's going to be as much of a blowout as you predicted, but I do, the line is 4.5. I do think the Lions cover that line, but I don't think it's going to be a 21-point dub by the Lions. I got a little closer, but I'm with you on the final outcome.
All right. So the next game will be the Colts versus the Texans. C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, both first-year quarterbacks. The Colts has some promising stuff, even though in the loss against the Jaguars. The Texans did struggle, but you played the Ravens. The offensive line, I think, still needs a little bit more work. I see some things. I see that D'Amico Ryans is very aggressive. I trust the Colts to win this one. Not really too much to talk about between the Texans because it's only one game. We hadn't seen him yet. Anthony Richardson has a lot of promise. He studies film. He only had one turnover last week. He has receivers as Michael Pittman. No Jonathan Taylor, by the way. So I'm going to take the Colts in this one. I think it will be it's a divisional game. I'll take it 27-20 Colts.
All right, so I'm on the Texans. The reason I'm on the Texans is because, well, here's why. So, like I already said, the Texans secondary, like their pass defense is solid. It's one of the top in the league, which is really hard to believe considering that, they had the number 2 pick. But at the end of the day, Jonathan Taylor's still not there for the Colts. I love Anthony Richardson. He played great, but he threw the ball a lot more than I thought that they were going to have him throw in week 1. Now, he threw the ball well, but the secondary of the Texans is better than the Jags secondary statistically. And their weak point is in the run game. The Colts don't have anybody running the ball except for Anthony Richardson. And with the amount of hits that he took in week 1, I don't know if the game plan, obviously him scrambling out isn't always part of the game plan, but I don't think the game plan is going to be run-centric for the Colts just because they don't have a reliable guy back there. It's Deion Johnson and Zach Moss, and Deion played terrible last week. Zach Moss is always up and down. So just because of they're both rookie quarterbacks, so there's going to be inconsistencies in both guys. But I just trust that the Texans secondary is going to be able to limit Anthony Richardson's success a little bit more than I trust the Colts secondary to limit CJ Stroud's. I've got this one like 17-14. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored, and that's purely off of just the inexperience in the leaders of both offenses. It's going to be, it's as entertaining as a 17-14 game can be. And I think it's just because everyone's excited about the 2 quarterbacks. But I do have the Texans.
Next game, the Bears versus the Buccaneers. The Bucs pulled off the upset. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Baker Mayfield figured out the Viking signals in the second half. That's why they were able to pull out the win. Baker Mayfield is a very smart, high IQ guy. I think he can resurrect his career with the Buccaneers. He beat Kyle Trask, by the way. I understand that was a training storyline throughout camp and throughout training camp. But, ladies and gentlemen, the Bucs have better wide receivers. By the way, we're not sure if Mike Evans will be a long-term Buc. So if it's his last year, we still have Chris Godwin. The score in this game, it could be 23-17. I don't think the Bears are going to score a lot. Who do you trust, Baker Mayfield or Justin Fields? I've got the Bucs in this one.
I got the Bucs as well, but I don't know if it's because I don't trust Justin Fields. Now, he was not accurate week 1 at all. Not accurate. And so you can say that the Packers defense played well, which we both have in this episode, but you're going to look like you played really well when the quarterback can't put the ball in his receiver's hands. Now, obviously, DJ Moore was being blanketed by Jair Alexander last game, and the Bucs don't have a corner at the caliber of Jair. But I just think that the inconsistencies of that offense are a little bit too much for me to look past when making a prediction for this game. So that's why I'm on the Bucs. Baker looks like he can game manage this team to 7 wins this year. And I think that's more than what I can say for the Bears at this point. The Bears did improve their defense, but it didn't really do anything against the Packers. So I'm not ready to put any faith in the Bears yet, especially like with what you just said. The skill positions on the Bucs is definitely better than the matchups that they're going against. I think the only guy on the Bears defense that really poses a major threat is Eddie Jackson at safety, and he's been kind of underwhelming in the past few years as well. But, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rachaad White in the backfield, like that's a really good lineup of skill positions. And it looks like Baker can be a game manager and control that, get the team to a dub. So that's what I'm going with. I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. 21-17 is what I got it at, and it could be lower.
All right, next game, ladies and gentlemen. Giants versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals fought hard against the Commanders, but the Commanders were a better team on the road. Defensively, their offense still needs a lot of work, by the way, with Dobbs at quarterback. The Giants, understand they got blown out 40-0 against the Dallas Cowboys, and all this Daniel Jones slander going around. He ain't worth, by the way, in my opinion, I think he could play football. He made the NFL for a reason. I'm not in the NFL, but he ain't worth $140 million. Guaranteed money. No. He ain't worth $140 million. I understand it's game one, and Brian Daboll had to really look back and think. But I'm going to pick the Giants to win this one. I don't see the Giants losing to the Cardinals unless a major injury happens. I'm not sure about the Cardinals' run defense at all. Saquon Barkley get more touches. They got Darren Waller as well. They got Jalen Hyatt, I think, from Tennessee. I think the Giants are going to come out firing. They're not going to get embarrassed again. I got the Giants 20-13.
Yeah, I'm on the Giants as well. Like you said, Saquon's still one of the top guys in the league, regardless of what the outcome was last week. And even on like the first drive of that game until Dallas blocked the field goal for the touchdown, they drove down the field on Saquon's running, so like obviously it was in a monsoon, so you can't pass the ball as effectively as you want to on either side of the ball. Dallas's defense their offense didn't really have to do anything. But the run game for the Giants is still solid. And I just don't trust I don't know how you could trust the Cardinals. They did play the Commanders very well last week, but like you said, the run defense is suspect. The only really like top caliber guy they have in their secondary is Buddha. And the skill that they have in the Giants wide receiver room and with Darren Waller at the tight end, Isaiah Hodgins is not a scrub. Jalen Hyatt's obviously got the burners. So I think that's what's going to put Buddha at the test, because he's going to have to cover over the top on the Giants trying to stretch the field out. But I do have the Giants winning this game. I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be very high scoring at all. I don't really know where I'm putting the final score of the game, just because of how much the Cardinals surprised me last week with how they played the Commanders. But I am comfortable with saying that the Giants are going to win this game.
All right. This was supposed to be a primetime game, but there is no Aaron Rodgers, okay? It's Zach Wilson versus Dak Prescott, okay? But the Jets defense is very promising. In order for the Jets to win and come up with some miracle to decompress Cowboy fans, the defense got to step it up and win it, because I'm not confident in Zach Wilson throwing the ball. I understand he got Garrett Wilson and Randall Cobb. Zach Wilson, ladies and gentlemen, has to play a perfect game against the Dallas Cowboys. But the Dallas Cowboys do have one of the top defenses in the NFL, by the way, but the Jets are those scrubs. They beat the Bills. I understand that it's game one. They forced 4 turnovers. Whitehead Whitehead gonna be in the Pro Bowl. Josh Allen gave that man 3 interceptions. He gonna be in the Pro Bowl. Don't be surprised if he picks off Dak Prescott. Don't be surprised. All right. But I'm gonna take the Cowboys. I put them in my parlay. I'm gonna take Dallas. I took the money line. I don't care if it's minus or whatnot. I trust the Cowboys because they have experience. They have Mike McCarthy, which I'm not really sold off of just yet because of the whole Aaron Rodgers thing in the past. But I'll put that to the side. But Dak Prescott, obviously, CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard. Come on. The Cowboys should be able to win this one. I think they play at home. So the Cowboys should win this one. Please, Dallas Cowboys, to win my parlay, don't beat yourselves. But if they lose, you know what I'm doing the Cowboy fans. I'm going to climb it. But I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys. I think it will be 28-20. I think the Jets can score some points on offense. I think they're running the ball, but I'm not sure if they're going to get 100 yards rushing against that Cowboys defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, and in years past, and then going into a couple drives of last week's game, our run defense has been the weakness of the defense, and it in the first drive before things went completely crazy. Obviously, to my liking, but before things went crazy, I was having that same concern. I was like, "Damn, we still can't stop the run." And when you look at how well Breece Hall played last week against a Bills D line that was just abusing the Jets O line, which obviously the Cowboys O line is better than the Jets. But, Breece Hall played out of his mind, first game back from the ACL, super impressive. So that's what has me worried when it comes to how many points the Jets are going to score. But I'm with you. I mean, the matchups don't really line up when you look at who's got who's got a better general in the quarterback position to lead their weapons. Like the Jets are obviously loaded with talent. So are the Cowboys. And I think, like you said, I'm putting so much more trust in Dak Prescott than Zach Wilson. I think statistically, Zach Wilson is like one of the worst quarterbacks that's ever played in the NFL. That's just based on stats. So like no hard shit towards him or anything, but that's just what it looks like on the number side of things. So when it comes down to, who is going to pull it out, I'm definitely on the Cowboys on this. I think that it's a 9-point spread. I think they cover the 9-point spread. But I don't think that it's going to be, Dallas goes out there and puts up 30 points or anything. Like this Jets defense, like you said, is nothing to sleep on. I wouldn't be super surprised if Dak threw a pick. I'm really hoping he doesn't, obviously. But, I've got the Cowboys winning this one 24-17.
All right. Next game, the Commanders versus the Denver Broncos. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Bieniemy is the new offensive coordinator. All right. The Broncos, they did struggle as well. Sam Howell still has a lot of work to do. In this game, on my parlay, I think I took the Denver Broncos. I'm going to take the Broncos to win this one. They're at home. Russell Wilson, he was 27-34, but only for 170 yards. The Commanders' defense will be some of a suspect as far as pass defense. There's no Chase Young just yet as well. Sean Payton will rebound. Russell Wilson will rebound. I'm going to take the Broncos to win this one. You could give it 19-16.
Yeah. I also think it's going to be low scoring, and I've got the Broncos as well. I don't think Sean Payton and Russ are starting 0-2, and I definitely don't think that the Commanders are starting 2-0. They played a very competitive game last week, the Broncos did, against a much better team than the Commanders played, and theirs was way more competitive, than we thought it was going to be. So just based off last week, based on, who I trust more, obviously Russ played like garbage last year, and last week it might have been efficient, but it wasn't flashy. I mean, and you don't need flash to win against, the Commanders, in my opinion, as a Dallas Cowboys fan. It doesn't need to be flashy. I do like Eric Bieniemy, and I think Sam Howell is going to be a good quarterback, but I don't think it's just yet. I trust the Denver defense, which has been stout for the past 3 years. I don't think that they're taking any steps back this week. I mean, they held the Raiders to under 20 last week. It's just, I don't think it's too much to dig into, really. I think it's going to be a close game, but I've got both of them under 20 points. I've got it 17-10.
All right. So we got 2 Monday night games this week, by the way. I'm going to make sure I didn't skip a game. No, I didn't skip a game. But we have 2 games on Monday night. All right. First game we're going to talk about is the Saints versus the Panthers. All right. Chris Olave, Derek Carr is the new savior of the New Orleans Saints. Jameis Winston got hurt. Taysom Hill wasn't the answer. Bryce Young is new. This is a divisional game. Both teams in the same division. Derek Carr is the better quarterback, obviously. He's been around. He has heart. He has talent. Michael Thomas is back. Alvin Kamara is suspended for 2 more games. I'm going to pick the Saints in this one because I just trust their defense. It's way better than Carolina's defense. Carolina got issues at the offensive line. Saints will win this one 24-22.
I got you. I'm with the Saints as well. And it's for the same reasons. I trust Derek Carr more than I trust Bryce Young. I do think Bryce is going to be good at some point this year. I just don't think it's week 2. I don't think it's against this defense. Like you said, the offensive line for Carolina is still very suspect. And, Cam Jordan coming down the gaps, coming at Bryce Young. That's like a foot dip, obviously not an actual foot, but he's going to have to, throw the ball in some tight windows with guys that are like 7 inches taller than him coming in his face. That sounded wrong. Pause. But you know what I mean. So, yeah, I've got the Saints in this one. I don't think it's super high scoring, but I do think the wide receiver trio of the Saints in Olave, Michael Thomas, and Rashid Shaheed are going to expose the secondary of the Panthers, which is not a bad secondary. They don't have a bad defense. I just trust the offense of the Saints more. I think Jamal Williams having a down week last week is not a thing that you can rely on every week. You saw him with the Lions last year. He's an effective runner. So at the end of the day, I'm putting my trust and my money behind the Saints. But I don't think it's a super high scoring game. I will not bet the over in this one at all.
All right, final game, the Browns versus the Steelers. These 2 Monday night games, by the way, are not in the parlay because I'm very concerned when it comes to Monday night. Anything can happen on a Monday night. Browns versus the Steelers. I hope I didn't put that in my parlay. I don't think I did, but I have to check back later. So Browns versus Steelers, divisional game, AFC North. The Browns have upset a lot of people, ladies and gentlemen. They upset the Bengals. I understand it's one game, but we didn't expect the Browns to come out like that. The Browns are on the road against the Steelers. The Steelers had an embarrassing loss. I think on this one, Mike Tomlin's defense, okay, they're not playing the 49ers. I wanted to make sure on my parlay that I did not take them because if I did, I would be very, very scared. I'm going to pick the Cleveland Browns to upset the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. Deshaun Watson, he's not the same player as he once was. He's a 6'5" massage therapist. I hope he learned his lesson. You have a wife, that's what you have a girlfriend for. But at the same time, the Browns will win this game. I'll take it 30-13. In Heinz Field, or no, they got a new stadium now, but Heinz Field, if it's still not Heinz Field yet. Aventure Field, yes, it changed the name. In that field at the home of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, yes, they will win.
Yeah, I'm rolling with the Browns as well. And it's not because of Deshaun. He played awful last week. I mean, enough for them to win, but I think that was more had to do with Joe laying an egg. I think it had more to do with Nick Chubb just doing what Nick Chubb does. And with, Cam Hayward hurt on that D-line for the Steelers, that's a big loss. And then on the offense for the Steelers, Deontay Johnson is a target merchant, especially for Kenny, and he was a target merchant with Ben at quarterback too. So that's a big, a guy that takes a lot of attention for the defense. He's gone. So, I just don't trust the Steelers. I've been on that since my first episode on Lambo's World of Sports. I have been on that. I do not trust the Steelers this year. I think a lot of people were thinking Kenny was going to take that next step. I'm not one of those people. I think he's an awesome dude. He's great on all the podcasts he goes on and all the interviews he gives. He's cool, but just as a quarterback, I don't think he's in that upper echelon. I don't even think he's mid at this point. I don't think he's deserved anyone calling him a mid quarterback. I think he's definitely one of the lower tier guys in the league. And I don't think going against the Browns defense that has statistically been good for the past few years. And Myles Garrett doing that crossover, that was a wild video to see. And it just gives me more confidence in that defense of the Browns and more than enough confidence to bet on the Browns and take them as the winners of this game. And I don't think it's going to be super high scoring. I mean, maybe Nick Chubb goes crazy and gets a few touchdowns himself, but I'm not betting on Deshaun to go out there and light it up at all. I've got it like 24-17. Nah, 24-14. I don't know how many points the Steelers are going to score.
Well, this is it for Lambo's World of Sports. We recapped all week 2 of the NFL games plus the primetime games. We already did college earlier this week, so you can check back on the recent videos. The brothers will be back on Monday because Friday through Sunday is nothing but football. In the next 4 minutes, we will also be watching the Eagles versus the Vikings on Prime Video on Fox. That'll be a good game to watch. That is the start of my 13-plus parlay. Hopefully, this game goes over plus 49 points, even though I picked the Vikings on the other end. So, this Lambo's World of Sports featuring the Big Brother. Appreciate it. Sideline Sports Network. Lambo's World of Sports, Totem Pole Nation is upgrading. It's on the way with new stuff on the way. The brothers will be back on Monday. So, Totem Pole Nation, Lambo's World of Sports. Y'all enjoy your weekend. Do not forget, here's the life lesson today. Please stop talking about primetime Deion Sanders because that spread is going to go high.
It's bad.
And number one, Jay Norvell done messed up. He done messed up. So, either you might not have a job. I'm not sure how good Colorado State is the past couple of years. But bad. Okay, bad. But please, I understand that, Colorado is still a new team and all that other stuff. But by the way, just to rant real quick, I feel like all the coaches that go against Colorado are going to talk some mess. And the more they talk mess, that's why I said Colorado from undefeated because of stuff of what he did. When you start talking, you're done messed up. So now they made it personal. So this weekend is personal. Oregon game going to be personal. USC going to be personal. So every game going forward is going to be personal. By the way, Colorado, the city of Colorado, made $18 million against Nebraska. So primetime Deion Sanders is bringing in the culture and bringing in the money. Like I said, there's 2 people that you don't bet against in life. Actually, there's 3. No, there's 2. We're going to stick with 2 right now. I haven't said the other one. 2 people that you don't bet in life. Nick Saban and primetime Deion Sanders. Jay Norvell, you done messed up, boy. Yeah. You messed up. Stupid. It is so going to be a whooping. Yes, dude, it's going to be a whooping.
Shiloh came on the Pat McAfee show today, and Pat obviously asked him about it. And he goes, dude, why do guys keep doing this? He asked the question. He's like, why are you going to make this personal against us? And especially in a game where they were already going to whoop them by like at least 30. Bro, I already said that they were going to put up 50 on these boys. They might put up a basketball score against these guys now, bro. Like, it's
I want them to put up 70 on them. I hope they put up 70.
Yeah, it's stupid.
I hope they put up 70, and I will sit there and watch the whole game. I don't care if it's 65-6. I will sit there and watch the whole game, and I will clown Colorado State. I will go ahead and just clown. But this is it for Lambo's World of Sports. The game is about to be on in 1 minute, so we gotta hop Seattle and give you all the information. If by the way, not to call any shots, but if he can stay awake, I guess, or if he doesn't fall asleep in his bed or whatnot, he might can appear on later tonight with the recap of the game. But if not, I'll go ahead and do it. But it doesn't matter. You might see us in the next 3 hours. But Total Pole Nation Lambo's World of Sports, we will recap tonight's game. All right, we will catch you at a later date. We'll see you on Monday after the recap of the